Good Sunday evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great week and a great weekend. Uh, see, Daryl stopped in. All right, Daryl. Oh, I understand about the allergies, brother. Hope you feel better. Hello, Miss Lisa Ann. How you doing this evening, dear? Hope everything's going good with you. So, but yeah, I'm finally feeling a whole lot better than I did earlier this week. Uh, I actually took a couple of days off work. Uh, I just I had the sinus infection thing came back, and it was back with a vengeance. And yeah, it. Hey, John, how you doing, buddy? But I am feeling a whole 100% better. It's a bit chilly out there. Yeah, it was a little bit chilly Saturday or yeah Friday. Friday I went down to the tractor pulls. I only stayed for like 3 or 4 hours. Uh, hey Barry, how you doing, bud? Thank you for stopping in. Uh, I watched for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I videoed some. Uh, my feet got cold and it was windy, and I actually went and stayed out in my sat in my truck for about 45 minutes, and I just couldn't get warm again. So, hey Cajun, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for stopping in. Uh, but yeah, they so I ended up packing it in, and I was going to go back Saturday morning, and it was just as chilly and cold. And I'm like, you know what? I got other stuff I need to get done priority wise. So we stayed home and did some stuff around here, and uh, I did get a decent video out of it. So, hey, Jim Bob, how you doing, brother? Thank you for stopping in. Uh, but yeah, I'll probably put that video out of the polls. I'll probably put it out tomorrow, maybe. So. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know that, John. So, but yeah, so I basically I was basically sick all week. So, uh, and didn't get a whole lot done out in the garage, as you've seen with the wiring. Uh, I went out there and got that done because I just needed to keep, okay, I'll keep it under the hat. So, but I just needed to keep pushing forward with getting everything I can done on that. So, because the start of the season's coming up real quick, so uh, I got to get that tractor done, and we got to de-winterize Plan B. That means I got to go buy some fuel. Hey, there's Cajun. Hi, Cajun.
Hey Ed, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Man, I got a hangover. It's not an alcohol hangover. It's a fever hangover.
Oh,
When you're burning up, and all, and then all of a sudden you ain't got a fever no more. You wake up and you sweaty and all that. You got this blah, yeah, blasé. We call that in French. Hey, Rail, Daryl,
hey, Rail.
and Willie.
There's Willie.
Jim Brown, and everybody else I didn't say hello to yet. How y'all? I think I caught something when I went to the hospital Friday. Every time I go, I catch something.
That's I used to be that way too. Mine is the sinus infection I had a month or so ago that never really 100% went away. It just with the up and down in temperatures and stuff, I think it just flared up again. So, like I said, I'm feeling a whole lot better now. If it still persists by the middle of the week, I'm going to the stat care again and telling them y'all need to give me something stronger than what you gave me before to get rid of this stuff once and for all.
Oh, I had some, what that call some clindamycin, kleptomaniac mycin, clindamycin. Yeah, that's, uh, but last time I went to the hospital for a sonogram, not a sonogram, ultrasound, uh, it, I caught the flu and Missy caught it at the same time. The regular flu. Missy went to the hospital, went to the ER with that. I didn't. This time I go to the ER and I mean not the ER, the hospital. See, lost track. Went to the for tests for ultrasounds and a stress test to clear me for surgery. I catch something. Running fever and poof. So anyway, I'll find out tomorrow what's going to happen though. Gotta go to the doctor's appointment for a test result.
We'll hope everything's positive.
Well, I mean, I know it's. I went through all that to go have surgery, and I hope.
Right.
Yeah, I hope it. She told me, the technician for the stress test. She says, "You good to go. You passed that." Usually they don't tell you nothing. But
Right.
she's seen me a few times. Before. She said, "You was here for your gallbladder a while back, wasn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure was." I'm
Jim
pretty
Bob,
sure she knew my history before even worked.
Jim Bob says he wishes he could get a steroid shot again. That's what they had me on last time.
Those help.
The steroids, and it helped, but I get that cough going.
I hate that dry, tickly cough.
Well, I cough up just a little bit of something. I never cough up anything like big like I was earlier in the week.
Work something now.
If I could just finish getting that out, I think I'd feel a whole heck of a lot better, because it actually woke me up in the middle of the night last night, coughing. I coughed probably 5 minutes straight. So. Oh yeah, John.
Keeping a secret.
Yeah, John thinks John's the only one I've showed. I got the Backstreet Boys tattoo going on. He really liked it. It matches his. He's my idol, so I had to follow suit. So. See, John, we can play games. But so yeah, I'm planning on getting back out to the garage this week and hitting monkey business hard, getting a bunch of little crap finished up. Put the hitch on, put the wheelie bars back on, just everything I've kind of ADD'd away from. Oh, look, squirrel. So just a matter of bolting the stuff back on. So. We just need to get it done, and that way it looks more finished than what it is. Put some fuel line on it, and then get all that done. We'll actually probably test fire it. Hopefully, there's nothing wrong with the carburetor, because I cleaned it out good before I parked the thing, but you never know. So, but we have the technology; we can fix it. We'll get her going. The one big thing I need to do with Plan B is I need to make some aluminum side covers for the engine, some scatter shields for it to comply with.
What's the regulations for thickness? Do they go by gauge, or they just want 1/8 inch or 4 inch?
1/8 inch steel or 3/16 aluminum. On the V twins, it has to extend from the frame, has to be bolted to the frame, and extend up to the top of the head bolts, and be as wide as the jug itself. So no big deal. I've got the aluminum and stuff to do it. It's just taking the time to do it.
Aluminum would be light.
Yeah.
Well, it's thicker too.
Yeah, with
Probably
with
only
the
like 20% by the time you take the thickness into consideration. It's probably only a half pound, 2 pounds lighter.
Well, the funny thing is I actually bought a sheet of 3/16 aluminum, and it's the sticker on it said 3/16. It's actually not 3/16. It's metric. It's whatever. It's just a hair under 3/16.
a 64th or a 32nd.
Just put some heavy oil-based paint on it to make up the thickness.
Probably a 32nd.
Yeah.
You know, if you
Plywood's the same way. It's a
If-
32nd, I think.
right. If you look at it, you know, it looks like 3/16, but I actually measured it with calipers, and it's actually a metric thickness. It's not
Right.
because it falls right in between. So
Willie's right though. Paint will make up for that extra. That
I was
stuff
just
that-
joking about that, though.
The one that's missing. It would though. All base paint. Yeah. Oh yeah. 2 coats.
yeah, I'm not worried about it. If they want to get that technical on it, then
It'd be
Yeah.
what, 2 mils thick or something like that. 2 coats would be 2 mils or 3 mils. I think.
yeah, something. But I actually want to polish it so it's nice and shiny. But
Oh.
you know, I'm not worried about it. You know, I mean, if they I pulled all last summer or all last season without them, and it says right in the rules you have to have them, and they never said anything about it. So I'm sure as long as I have something on it that's pretty dang close, it'll be fine. I just need to figure out. I see a lot of guys attaching them to the outer 2 head studs. This doesn't have studs; it has bolts. So I don't know if I want to attach it to those or make pieces up that wrap around the sides and go in from the side, you know. But that'll be something for whenever I go to do it.
Well, if you make it a wraparound that way, nothing has a chance of getting out.
Right. I would just make like 1 inch wide straps that come up along the sides there. There's some bolt holes that hold the original air shot the sheet metal on that I could get on because it doesn't say anything in the rules. It just says it has to extend up to the top of the head stud or a head up to the top of the head, and you know, there's nothing that says it has to be secure up there. Well, what's the point of having it if it's not secured up there? Because if something blows out, it's just going to push it out of the way. You know, the idea.
Yeah, I imagine adding some mass to the head studs to help reduce some vibration, probably take some heat away, probably help you in the long run a little bit.
Well, the thing about it is if I use that 3/16 steel or aluminum, the head studs or head bolts on those are. I mean, I don't want to pull that much thread out of the head, you know, to put that underneath. That's why, you know, I see a lot of the guys that have head.
Well, you can probably get those long nuts and cut them down.
Well, that's it. The bolts go down through. There's not studs.
Okay.
So right now, because they're the stock bolts, I could get longer bolts and just do it that way.
But then you're going to have to worry about more stretch when you torque them down. It's going to be different.
Right. So what I probably end up, if I'm going to go anyway, I'm probably just going to put a couple head studs in it and then just make the threads longer on the top so I can hook that panel over it and be done. So, hey, Renegade, how you doing, bud?
Hey, Renegade.
But I gotta sit down and stare at the tractor for a little bit. See what's
anything to keep a hot starter off your foot, huh?
More of a connecting rod or a piston.
What was it that landed on what'd you call its foot? Boot?
Bows. Yeah, it was.
Bow.
But that was a single cylinder when it let loose.
What was it?
That was a
16 horse.
That was a 16 horse single.
It was what
starter.
came out? Came
The
out the
starter.
starter. Okay, that's what I thought it
Yeah.
was. Starter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the K series coolers are notorious for breaking when you break a connecting rod, they come out the cam side. I don't think I've ever seen one blow out just the other side. 99.99% of them all blow out the cam side of it. So that's where you have to have your shield at. And of course, he didn't have one because the rules didn't say you needed one right then and there. They had a couple incidents where where engines come apart and the guys didn't have shields on them. So now they put that in the rules for last year, and I didn't see it, and they just kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if those pieces are coming out at bullet speeds over 1,200 feet per second, considering the RPM they're running at.
Oh yeah.
And that cast iron is either going to hold it back or snap and come out at the same speed. It wasn't there.
His all came out. Part of the cam, part of the block.
I mean, it's not like when that block breaks apart, it's not really slowing down the internal parts as they're coming out. It's going to come out at pretty good speed.
Just makes more shrapnel.
Yep. It doesn't have any of that tensile strength to slow anything down. It just shatters.
Right. So yeah, I gotta get that just to make everybody happy. I don't know if they would say anything, or not.
Funny you talk about making things safer. One rule that drives me nuts locally is you're not allowed billet aluminum flywheels, but they allow billet steel. And like I've talked to you before, if you're running a Briggs, what do? You can't run an aluminum flywheel because they won't allow it. You're running the factory flywheels. It's not particularly safe. I don't know why they don't have exceptions to that rule. It's weird. I know they worry about crankshafts breaking, but I don't think a crankshaft breaking is as dangerous as a flywheel.
You can't run aluminum billet flywheels, the like in go-kart racing and stuff. Wow.
Yeah. And if anything, that'd make it safer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how many times that cast iron or that stock aluminum one has been pulled on and off, and if it's been over torqued or not over torqued or dropped or whatever.
Well, one thing you could do to make them a little bit safer is round off any sharp edges.
Yeah.
Then you also take the balance out of it, which also isn't helpful either.
Right.
And take the magnets out, so there's that less amount of weight on the inside of it. You don't need them because they won't shatter them.
Right. But I always had a problem with the clubs that wouldn't check RPM ratings on the stock class guys.
Jim Bob, as for magnets, you could get deviation on that crankshaft on that block, and then the magnets could start hitting the stator, and then once they start chipping at high RPM, they could just shatter, and then you got major problems. I don't think with the outside force of the magnets come out of place. It's just when things start moving, they could start hitting, and then, or if they happen to come unglued at some point or another and then bind up, it just wouldn't be good. I've actually seen a Kohler V twin where the magnets came loose and actually broke the top of the block.
Yeah, I seen one of the V twins. The stock magnets came loose. They didn't have a stator in there because they weren't running the charging system, but the magnets came loose, and it actually threw the flywheel out of balance and broke the end of the crank off. So,
boy, that must have made a heck of a lot of noise, because there was one time my brother was fooling around. We took one of those rotors from Briggs Starter, and we were spinning it up because we had the bushing cap, stuck it on, and we sharpened the point. Got that thing spinning to thousands of RPM, and we let that thing go, and it's like, it's not stopping.
Yeah.
we took our step away from it. So let alone, that was just a rotor. That flywheel must have been spinning for a heck of a long time. I wouldn't want to have been anywhere near that thing.
Well, it didn't spin real long because it was, it's connected to the drive line. But
okay.
It all happened in a flash. You heard a kind of a knock, and then all of a sudden you couldn't see the vibration, but the guy that was driving it said that he heard the knock. He thought it was a connecting rod, felt the vibration. He said, and then all of a sudden that motor just made a grinding noise, and everything come to a.
He had the clutch on it on the Cub. I didn't think about that.
Yep. Yeah.
That's probably the best case scenario for that.
Right. And then you got the guys that love the wheel horses. I've seen flywheels come apart and do like major damage and stuff like that. I understand all the shielding rules and regulations on all that, but the guys that will run them wheel horses wide open, and that thing's coming right at you. At
Right
least
in line, right in your face.
yeah, roll right towards your crotch. That's what I'm more worried about. That you can't damage this much more.
Well, there's a reason the helmet came after the what do you call them now? The cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just I just but I understand all the rules. I mean, I have no problem with safety rules as long as they're for safety. And I
As
try
long as
to
they ain't made up for you not winning.
right.
Spur
Well-
the moment. Oh, you don't have that. Okay, my cousin wins.
Mm-hmm.
One rule I'm not a fan of, which a bit of a gray area, what do you call them? The Briggs Vanguard engines have either hypertectic or forged internals. They're not billet,
Right.
so you can run them pretty hard factory, but you would think they'd be all 4 billet rods if they're factory lengths, but they can't measure that. But they even have rules for billet internals on stuff, even though that's to make stuff safer.
Well, that's where I was getting at with them not checking because I knew a couple clubs a long time ago that had in their rules, it didn't say working governor, it said workable. Means all the linkage had to be there, and they kind of just mistakenly forgot to put an RPM limit in the stock class.
Yeah.
Well, there was guys turning stock engines with all stock internals, 4,500, 5,000 RPMs. And I'm like, that's fine and dandy. You want to do that? That's all on you. Make it mandatory for a billet flywheel. Something that hasn't been, that's not 50 years old, has been taken on and off God knows how many times with whatever tools are available, and tightened on with whatever tools are available, and then, let them run whatever RPM they want to, if they feel they can turn them things at, as long as that flywheel is not come apart. Because I've seen flywheels come apart and fly, a couple 100 feet, chunks of it, when they get up to those RPMs. That's
If it's a stone size, something that's going to get pitched 200 feet, that would hurt, hit you in the head.
And that's it. You've got the crowd, the people, the spectators that are there just to watch. Now you're affecting them. If you want to sit on on the center of a live grenade, sit on that son of a bitch, but don't affect the people around you. So that was my big thing, and their response to that was well, we're trying to keep that class inexpensive for new pullers and stuff like that. We can't mandatory a 100. Well, at the time they're like $150 or $175 for a K series stock fly. Not stock, but billet flywheel. They're like $225 now or something like that. And then I said, well, okay, well, if you're trying to keep it, cheap and inexpensive and stuff, and a class, good beginners class, then don't let them have aluminum front and rear wheels. There you go. Make them run steels. Well, that's where they can get in the weight class.
You mean for you?
Well, at that point in time, I was running in the twins class. I had full steel wheels. I didn't have aluminum wheels. I put my money into other stuff, into the safety stuff. And, they, hey, Thomas Andrew, how you doing, bud? So, they didn't like those answers because, they were running in those classes, and, they wanted the pretty shiny tractors without having the safety aspect of it. So, so I just shut my mouth, and when those certain people would pull, I would not be close to the edge of the track and watch and listen, and if something was just kind of hopefully duck and hide and not get hit with anything. But
Yeah, but you gotta be careful when you start prying with the people that make the rules, because you might wind up like my brother Anthony. There was an incident where my brother was running dump truck loads, and he was getting more loads in the end of the day than the other guys. So he already was making the other guys, the seniors, look bad. Then they were on a convoy, and in their mind, they're thinking, okay, we showed up first, we get loaded first, and no one leaves until after us. Even if they're stopping for 15 minutes to get a coffee or something like that. Well, my brother was behind them, so the first two guys got loaded, and my brother got loaded. My brother knew where he went to go, so he just left. Well, the other two drivers weren't happy about that.
Oh well.
After that, they started picking and complaining about every little thing, and it was just a nightmare. So he left.
Well, that's when I quit pulling with those clubs, and now they're like, well, what, come down to, now that I'm putting videos and stuff out. They're like, well, why don't you come down and and pull with us? You're right there. Blah blah blah. I'm like, honestly, you don't have a class. I've looked at your rules. I would come and pull with you, but you don't have a class that my tractor fits in. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I'm like, no, there is nothing in the rules that says that you're allowed to run methanol. They were allowed to run alcohol. It's all hot stock and pump gas and all that kind of stuff. That's what it says in the rules. There's nothing in there that says. And then one guy, he's like, oh yeah, it's in there. I know it's in there. We used to have it in there, and we've never taken it out. Well, right after talking to him, I went home and looked in their rules, the current rules, and there was no class in there that would allow methanol fuel. And
my favorite rule was the specific gravity. That seems like a good all-around easy rule to follow if someone has the gauge for it.
Right. Well, and you can do the water test with methanol. You can put a measured amount of water in it, and if it floats, and there's a whole big thing on how to do it. But
it's like testing for ethanol, but if it takes more water and it does separate like it would with gasoline, then it's alcohol. Or you'll see a higher ratio on the bottom. Instead of like a 10% line, you'll have like a 40, 60, 80% line.
Right.
Just like testing for ethanol and gas.
Yep. And I know way back, 15 plus years ago, they were going away from the horsepower classes to cubic inch classes. And the whole Well, the whole reason they were doing that is because, like the Briggs and Stratton opposed twins, the 16 horse ones were 39
to 40.
Yeah, they were 40 cubic inch, and then the 18s were 42 or 44 cubic inches.
Yeah, they're 42.
And the 18 horse single cylinders weren't nowhere near that.
Yeah, they were 30. Well, what were the 18 horse? 36. I think the 18 horse single cylinder Briggs overhead valves were 36. Was the biggest they got.
But they were allowing the opposed twins like that to run in the single cylinder class because they were a flathead motor. That was their, they didn't make them because there wasn't a whole lot of V twins at that time. There's only a handful of them, and they were all 25s. So the guys that were running 16 horse in the 16 horse class with the opposed, they're like, we can't even compete with that, So
I see that by me. When it's a 16 horsepower class, factory stock, I still see those people running the opposed twin Briggs because they're not limited on cubic inch.
Right. Well, that's why they went back to the horsepower rating instead of the cubic inch ratings. They started it because of my 16 horse opposed twin that I was running, and then whenever I started like I actually bumped up to the 18 horse single class just because I pulled both classes, and I was beating those guys too. Then they started, well, we're going back to the horsepower rating and single cylinder, flathead or overhead valve.
I might have a 53 cubic inch, 18.2 horsepower engine.
I was actually looking at, whenever I was still running that tractor like full time, I was actually looking for the 20 horse opposed twin Briggs that's like super freaking rare.
46, yep.
Yeah.
I don't even have the money to work on mine. I wish I did. Too many bills.
Yeah.
I blame inflation, and you know what inflation is caused by?
Stupid people.
Well, we can't talk politics.
Oh, that wasn't political.
Well, the things I'd like to call the economy since 2020.
Hey,
Wayne. How you doing, Wayne?
Trying to be nice because I don't want to get anyone demonetized. Sorry, Ed.
That's fine. I appreciate it. But yeah,
But it's funny how we have gas crises in like 2008 and the 70s, and that wasn't during Republican presidencies. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one thing that made me decide to bring that tractor back out. Is there's a lot of the 20 horse stock guys now running, and they'll run the 20 horse stock and the 25 horse stock class both. And there's a couple guys in the one class that travel around to different clubs, and I know for a fact that they're not the true 20 horse engine. They're 22s, because 18 and 22 are the same engine, bore, stock, stroke, everything, except for the carburetor. So
Are you talking about for the Briggs or the Kohler?
The Kohlers, the Commands.
Okay.
The 18 and 20 horse V twin Commands is the exact same block, everything, bore, stroke, all that. They up the horsepower, cut up into the 22 horse via the carburetor. That's how they rate
Sometimes
it.
the manifold. Yep.
Well, yeah, it's the manifold, because the 22s are a vertical shaft. I don't think they made a 22 horse horizontal shaft, but all the internals and everything out of that 22 horse will fit in your vertical shaft or horizontal shaft, and you can use a plastic intake, downdraft intake, and you'll make way more than 25 horse, or way more than 20 horse. So, but they and they're up in the RPMs on them. They're supposed to be at 3,800. You can hear it. They're over 4,000, which they've got billet flywheels and stuff on them, so they're loud. It's loud in the rules. So I was kicking around the idea of all last summer that we just need to bring the 18 opposed Briggs back out and put the Cub Cadet rear end in it, and we'll give them a run for their money, because I was giving them a run for their money back when 15 plus years ago with the Peerless rear end in it. I just got.
I can't wait to see what the guys are going to say at the track when they see my Wisconsin actually make it more than 2/3 down the track, and that's a Craftsman.
Yeah. Well,
because I imagine probably 30% of those Cub Cadet guys don't realize that that's actually got a garden tractor transmission in those GT18, GT6000s. I don't think those transmissions typically blew. I think the only thing I've ever broken on mine, I had one that had a broken gear, but I don't know what was the cause of that broken gear, because it was broken when I got it. But I only broke an axle on one, and I beat the heck out of that thing with a scoop bucket and wheel weights, loaded tires, driving it like I stole it.
Well, that monkey business, about I could go to like 2 different poles and the rear end would stay in it, but on the third one I usually just spun the axle right out of it, just snapped it right in half. and you could when you pulled them apart, you could actually see them. It was a twisting brake, not a it's not from like dumping the clutch or anything like that. But
From the grabbing and slipping.
yeah. But I had a guy message me whenever I was making that shifter lock and stuff. He found me on Facebook from the video, and he was asking. I know who he is. He's an engine builder and stuff, and he's like, what for gearing and stuff? And you got in there. I'm like, I told him, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah. And he goes, that Briggs will never turn that gear count. I'm like, yeah, well,
Those opposed twin Briggs breathe pretty well.
Oh yeah.
yes.
When you hear a lope at idle,
Yeah. Well,
and you see people porting them out, and they're just unstoppable forces. Just imagine what those things can do when they get some RPM. I mean, if you think about it, as for Flathead, they have all the boxes checked. I mean, they have canted valves. They have a relief cut between the valves and the cylinder. The cylinder and valves are really close. They're not spread apart.
Yeah.
And your valve port is actually quite shallow, so you don't have this really deep port that goes down in the head, all the way over and back up.
It's angled right down into the valve and that. But
and one thing I thought was interesting, this one YouTube channel, I can't remember the numbers, Captain 348, I think it was working on one of those and showed videos on how to port those Briggs and Strattons out. And he actually realized when he was doing tests with the vacuum cleaner that the manifold going down from the angle, like you would think going straight in would be the best, but actually he found having the manifold was the best because the air, as it goes towards the outside of the cylinder, carried that outward momentum and then into the cylinder, which I thought was neat.
And the other thing I found out was really neat. Those opposed twins do not like to have the heads milled. They like
because you close your valve port between your valves on one side and your cylinder. So if you close your block deck and your head, you start closing them. Well, then your valve ports get smaller.
Yep.
And one thing you can do, which I talked to an engine guy here, what he used to do with engines is he used to grind a channel in line from one side of the head to the other with the spark plug. So if your spark plug, let's say the head's valves towards me and the cylinder's towards you, and your spark plug's here, he used to grind a channel right down the center of the head, which would give you a quench area and allow the flame front to go right down into the cylinder.
Yep. Yeah.
And he also used to take the electrodes, instead of having the point like this, he would have them offset. So the spark would have to go at an angle so the fuel could get in and out of it for the flatheads.
Mm-hmm.
And that little trough not only helps your flame front, but it also helps your breathing for your engine. Because it's kind of a cross flow from the cylinder into the valves. It's not following the outside of the cylinder. It's kind of going in a cross pattern. So it's like comes in, circles around, and goes out.
Right. But yeah, I had that. Well, I had my 16 tuned up pretty dang good, and the 18 was even better because I learned from the 16. And we'll find out if that little 18 will turn that Cub Cadet rear end. So
another thing I read somewhere, I can't remember, I think it was Kirk Engines or something like that, had that forum or PDF on YouTube on building a pulling tractor. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how certain heads were higher compression and lower compression for like the 10 horsepower engines. Like you can take the LP 10 horsepower head and put it on a 12 horsepower, and that would work with alcohol. But if you put gasoline in there, it would get pre-ignition and melt a hole or a valve or something like that, which I thought was fascinating. So once again, the flatheads don't like high compression because then you get hot spots because there's no place for that heat to go on a flathead. It's just a little pancake of aluminum.
Right. So Scott asks, the logic of having spray nozzles for headlights but no wipers. That's a new one on me, unless it's for de-icing. That would be the only thing I would.
If I remember correctly, I've seen Volvos that had two separate pumps, one for the headlights and one for the washer fluid. One pump could have gone bad. Or is there no nozzles at all, and they're built into the wiper arms themselves?
Well, the way he's talking, the spray nozzles are there, but but there's no wipers or anything on the headlights. So
Oh, I've seen that on a lot of cars. I guess the speed just washes the mud off. I know what you mean now. They just pop out, spray, and go in. There's no wipers like on the older 80s style Volvos.
I never seen wipers on a headlight.
The square body Volvo cars had them back in the day.
Yeah, not familiar with that. In fact, Volvos, I think I might have seen a couple in real life, you know.
Yeah, the taillights looked blocky like you would see on like a DeLorean. They just had strips for the different lenses on the back. And the bumper was basically cut off flat, and then you'd have a little bit of a step. Or no, the trunk was cut off flat, and you have a little bit of a step for a bumper, and it was flat.
all right, Roadrunner. Hope everything goes good for you for the surgery number 2, buddy.
Yeah, me too.
Looking forward to seeing you next week. And
Yep.
Rails right.
Yeah.
It's German engineering. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting monkey business out there and getting it in the dirt again. I've actually found a guy that'll cut me a set of turf tires. I just got to get them to him. Probably take them down the first pull and have him cut them. And then he said he could have them done in a week. So, oh, hey, Mr. Briggs.
Now, I'm going to show you what this is, but I never looked in there. All it does is spray the headlights. It's a stupid spray.
Yeah, they'll spray
I've
over the
never-
windshield. And
No, it don't spray over the windshield. Okay,
oh, okay.
we're trying to set it up. You see this little box right there?
Yeah.
Yep, it pops out. Yep.
I don't know if I can do it or not. Right here's
Well,
the
the angle
box.
looks good.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spray it. You tell me if it works. Got the headlights on.
Yep.
Did it work?
Yeah, it works. Yep.
Yeah.
Boy, talking
Yeah.
about over-engineered. I've never seen one like that.
It's sprayed toward the front. You know, I
Might
guess
as get a
the
little-
wind pushes it
Might as well
back.
get like one of those like breath mint.
Does it come
sprayer
out about
things.
that far? Does it come out that far?
A
About
little more than that, actually. It looked like
Damn.
it lifts straight up.
Don't give me a thumbs up if in the chat you think I'll put a flamethrower out there. Disconnect them all.
Sounds like something my brother would do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Turn them around the other way so they point forward and have a little igniter out there.
And my brother put a little fuel pump into a tailpipe with a nozzle, and took one of those control burn mechanisms, aka redneck flamethrower, and put the igniter into the tailpipe, so the momentum from the exhaust takes all the gas and vaporizes it. And that thing gets so dang hot that you could be standing 30 feet away and feel the heat from it. And even though the flame is probably 2 feet away from the taillight, it's melting the plastic of the taillight.
dang.
And Rail's right. It
Sounds like a. It sounds. I don't know how to explain it. It sounds like a jet heater when they go off.
And Rail's right. It adds $2,000 to the price of the car,
There you go.
and at like $140 an hour to fix it. You know, they probably get a couple $300 or $400 to replace it.
Yeah, when he goes out into the
Oh,
burnout
wait,
pits, they'll have the flamethrower going. And it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if $2,000 will add to the price for having a nozzle just spray up on my headlights, which I don't see the logic in. A flamethrower should add $10,000.
Yeah.
Scott, I'd see about that audio break. You still breaking up. You were doing that last
I remember
week.
seeing a video
This
for a
week.
propane system that had jets underneath the rockers that was supposed to be a theft deterrent. I haven't seen any videos on that in years. And one of it went debunked.
Somebody probably got sued for it. But yeah, I put a let's see, not this weekend, last weekend I put a rack and pinion in my mom's '07 Trailblazer, and she took it to have it aligned, and the alignment shop said, well, we can't do the alignment because the upper two ball joints are bad, and there's some kind of link bar in the back that's broke, so they can't do the alignment. And they quoted her $800 to put the upper ball joints and that rear link in before they could do the alignment. Yeah,
I can't say I'm familiar with the '07 Trailblazers, but I would imagine wouldn't that be a strut? Or was that like the S10 body style that had an upper control arm?
It's got an upper control arm on it. And I've done them before because my ex had one.
Do they have? They probably have that big long bolt that goes all the way through that tends to rust in. Maybe they were covering their butts.
Well, it's a replaceable ball joint, so you don't have to take the upper control arm or anything off.
Oh, okay.
They're just it was a woman that brought it in, and
Boy, how much were those parts?
well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm gonna price the parts here first of the week when I get back to work.
You want to hear a funny story? I was working on what was it? An '08.
Nope.
Ford. I think it was the '08 Ford F-150. No.
Yeah.
What was that? Chevy. The Ford I did the control arm. I had a Chevy. I think that was also an '08 Chevy. It wasn't the Cat Eye. It was the next generation.
Okay.
And I think it was quoted for like 2 hours each side for the struts. I put the jack underneath the lower control arms, got everything all chalked up, and I undid the strut top and bottom, and I just unthreaded that thing right around the axle. All I had to do was unhook the tie rod.
We bought a new truck at work. It's a 14 Chevy pickup. I did both struts on it within 45 minutes.
Yep.
So.
But they wanted you in the book to undo a ball joint and get the hub out so you can get the CV axle set out of the way. It's like, I don't think I'm going to do that. So I undid the tie rod and undid the bolt and worked it, and then I got the axle right inside the spring coil and just unthreaded it like a bolt, and it came out beautiful.
Right, Renegade. I've never upcharged for parts either when I do stuff like that. But they're my mom's in her 80s, and she was going to wait on them to do the alignment, and they basically were trying to like scare tactic her into getting it done. Well, it's not real safe, and
while you were in there doing the rack, did you notice any play in anything or any noises?
I never checked the ball joints, top, bottom, but we checked left and right, and and there was no excess wear on the tires, So we're gonna throw it back up on the rack and check it, and and do it.
Torsion spring, or does that have a coil spring?
I believe they've got coils in there. I can't remember right offhand, but hey, Woody, how you doing? But
Shouldn't be hard to check it then.
Right. And then once we get everything checked and everything, and if they need replaced, I'll send it to my alignment shop, which she'll have to drop it off, what I'll probably do is just go over the night before, get it, bring it to work with me, drop it off in the morning, pick it up in the afternoon, so.
I had to refuse one alignment last week because I went to get ready to put it up in the air, and I was looking, it's like, oh, they put a brand new ball joint in, a rusted control arm.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not aligning this, because if this comes off and someone gets hurt, I'm not going to be liable for it.
Well, I mean, and that's it. We looked at the control arms and stuff to make sure, because there was a couple of spots in the frame that's rusted through. Nothing, not in a major stress area or anything. But she's 80 something years old.
Probably doesn't even drive 8,000 miles a year.
She's got a pretty well gas ass, but it's all, I mean, she drives super slow. It's all kind of local-ish driving unless she goes to my one aunt's house. But, we're probably thinking she probably won't be driving in the next 3 to 4 years. She'll probably be done driving.
That's one problem we had with a lady with her car. It had a really bad water leak, and also had a minor oil leak. Like you had to put a quart in it in between oil changes. And it was an older car. It was like 18, 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a water pump, and the water pump was driven by the timing belt. And it's a German car. You're going to have to have specialty tools to set all the timing and everything, to adjust the tensioners and everything. She's like, you know what? I don't drive that far. This is only our spare car. I'll just stick with our other car, and if we need to, I'll just call an Uber.
Right. But yeah, we, I mean, if need be, we would buy her another car. But it just, we don't want to put a couple $1,000s into this thing, if she's not going to be driving in a couple years. It's going to be at its end of life. I think it's close to 200,000 miles. So, we'll look it over and see what's going on, but more than likely I'll put a couple upper ball joints in it, and like I said, send it to my alignment shop that I use through work, and they'll get it done, and no big deal, and she'll be on her way again. But it's just I hate garages that try to scam people and scare tactic them into stuff. And because my brother actually went in after she left, because she was like, oh, it really needs done. They said, it's almost not safe to drive. And so, and she couldn't remember exactly what they said, because they didn't give her a copy of the, what it needs. All they did is wrote down how much it was, so he went in to talk to him, and everything was written on it wasn't even on a regular like form. It was just a scrap paper that had, some stuff sketched down, had her name, all that kind of stuff, and how much it was going to be. Dear. And,
well, we have a whole computer sheet that we have to fill out on a tablet, and the only thing it doesn't have that the customer would get as for an overview of the condition of the car would be the mechanic personal notes.
Right. But
which the manager would have to specifically type in on a separate form.
Well, and the thing about it is when my brother went back in, he's like, well, you got another tablet I can copy this down and everything? Oh, I don't know. Let me look here. And he's like, never mind. He just got his phone out and took a picture of it, and then
that's what I've done. If I have now we typically have to have printouts of the alignments for commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And customers don't typically ask for printouts of alignment, but I always snap a picture off the machine just in case. Like, well, I have a picture of it anyway. I'll text it to you.
Well, he. The funny thing is they were like giving him the same line, when they went in, and they're like, yeah, well, we can get it in, and we can get, the parts are readily available, and we can get it in and get it done, and it won't take that long, and blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, well, my brother's a mechanic up at University of Mount Union, and he'll take care of putting all the parts and everything in. We'll just come back for an alignment. And that's when they kind of got an attitude and
covering their butt.
Right. Because I mean there wasn't a list for like, the price of the parts, the price of the labor, how long the labor is going to take, all that kind of stuff. It was just her name, what vehicle it was, that it needed both upper ball joints, and the rear. I don't remember exactly what they called the rear thing. And then total price of what it costs with the alignment, and it was like $800 and some dollars. So,
well, if you want to talk about scams and getting ripped off, I got a story for you on this Simplicity I was working on. I showed you a couple weeks ago. I don't know where to get good parts anymore. When I first started working on that tractor last year, I put a brand new tank bushing in, a brand new tank fuel shutoff valve, brand new fuel line. I was gravity feeding it at first with a brand new carburetor, and I had hesitation on throttle because the coil was bad. I just found out the coil was weak. It was missing on one cylinder intermittently, and the other side was not always bright. And today it was like shut off when it would get hot. Thinking, what the heck? I look in the tank, it's like, where'd all the gas go? I just put like 1.5 gallons in this last week. I take the tank off, and the brand new tank bushing is split.
Yeah.
I believe it.
And the brand new fuel pump, which is the second fuel pump I put on it, because I think I told you before, you buy a fuel pump on eBay, and it says OEM Briggs, and you go and look at the product description, actual link, and it says brand Briggs. But then you go into their personal description of it, which you shouldn't have to go there, because you go there and it's a lot of advertising bull crap, and it's like aftermarket. It's like, but you're charging me OEM price for an aftermarket, and you're hoping I wouldn't notice.
Right.
So I got an OEM Briggs fuel pump, and that's not working. So I wound up going out to my a generator that it was one of my first videos on my channel. This is over 5 years ago. There was a Opposed twin Kohler engine with a Star generator style generator, and I stole the fuel pump and the aftermarket ignition coil and put it on here. And the fuel pump is who knows how many years old. It says "Made in USA" stamped into the metal fuel pump. It still freaking works. I'm out of leftover fuel pumps. I have no more used fuel pumps hiding around anywhere, because I've always salvaged original parts, because this new crap just does not last. How is I can grab a 20-year-old fuel pump and it freaking works, but I can't get a new one and it doesn't work?
Yep.
It's like,
What?
I think
That's
I'm going to
what-
go direct to Mikuni for now on for fuel pumps, because Briggs & Stratton and all associated aftermarkets are just throwaway garbage.
Hey,
That'd be my
quick
tip
wrench right
there.
Yeah. Well, what I used to like is the guys that when we were pulling would use the vacuum pumps, but then they would run them on an engine that's running 5, 6, 7,000 RPMs, and they couldn't figure out why the pump wasn't working. And
That's actually
they're
something I did with my pulling tractor. I have a Honda 3813 piston style pump, and I ran that through a diaphragm fuel pump, both of them, and it seemed to work good after that.
Yeah, the vacuum diaphragm pumps, just the pulse is too quick when you get up above 4,000 RPMs, and they won't.
Yeah, it's not moving enough to
Right,
remove the check valve.
Right, and so they're wondering why they're going lean and running out of fuel and and everything else. I'm like, because those pumps aren't designed to run at those RPMs. Get a mechanical one. Go online, buy I think they were like $35 or $40 at the time. Little electric, 2 to 7 psi or 2 to 6 psi electric fuel pumps, internally bypassed. Put one of those on it, and you'll never have a problem again.
Yeah, I think you can get those Honda 3813 fuel pumps for like $60, and I think they're made by Mitsubishi, which I think is the best price I've seen for an electric fuel pump. But if you're running alcohol, you probably need something more like a Holley.
No, I still run the generic ones. You just have to run some WD-40 or something through them after the pulls, so it doesn't eat the rubber parts. But it doesn't. Knock on wood, I haven't had one get eaten up. Just
another thing I found on some of the aftermarket fuel pumps is you have to run separate battery power if you have them anywhere near the coil power. Like, you can't just split the power from the coil to the fuel pump, because it fries them.
Yeah. Yep. So, but
Learned that the hard way twice.
Yep.
Because there's no instructions on the first one I worked on, and I didn't even think to check it, because I just put the internals from the aftermarket one into the original fuel pump, because the check valve went bad in the old fuel pump.
Right.
And then when I went to get another one, the next time I looked at the instructions after I blew it up. It's like, oh.
Well, and the other thing I found too is on those click clack pumps, you have to mount them at a 45-degree angle with the fuel coming into the top to keep them wet. Because if you mount them horizontal, they'll get an air pocket and they won't pump fuel.
And it'll probably go too fast and damage them.
Yep. Well, and because I used when I first was using them, I mounted them down on the frame horizontal, and the fuel come down and then back up to the carburetor, and kept going through them pumps. They quit working and everything else, and started messing around and talking with some other people, and soon as I mounted it at a 45 with the inlet facing up, that, the gravity fuel going into it, never had a problem. I ran one for like 5 years on race gas and never had an issue with it. So
And that's probably the worst case scenario because that race gas is pretty caustic stuff sometimes.
yeah, it's
And
not.
it's got oxygen in it.
Well, there's it's not as hard as the methanol, but it can get kind of nasty. So
Well, they put methanol in it to give it oxygen a lot of the time. I imagine.
No, Jim Bob, there's no hidden nitrous.
well, like there's some methanols out there that actually have nitrous in them, or nitromethane in them, which is the oxygen bearing part of the fuel. And that's what's the caustic stuff. And that's what you're not supposed to breathe the fumes and stuff in or get it on your hands and shit. So, but
Okay.
I
didn't know. I know something about some of the oxygen fuels or you don't want to mess with.
Yeah.
help
Well,
it.
we wouldn't be running that kind of fuel, No, that's just.
I've actually been trying to do research as to trying to find a low octane fuel for the low compression flatheads. There's not much information out there for that.
No.
You have to just look at numbers, but those numbers aren't always 100% accurate. As to
Right.
this is a fuel for a flathead. That's not how it always works because some fuels burn faster and some fuels burn slower. And
Right.
ugh.
So, all right, y'all. We've been up here an hour. It's time to head to the old sleepy. So, appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you guys all next week. So, have a good one.
Fun.
Yeah.
Blue time.
See y'all.